What's up everybody, and today we're going to check out the 7artisans 35mm budget lens. For this review, we're going to focus more on the video rather than photography, and we're going to split it up into 3 parts. For this first part, we're going to check out build quality. So the 7artisans 35mm lens has an aperture of 1.4 to 16 stops, and also is a manual focus lens. Has no autofocus. It is an all metal design. It is built like a tank. This lens, this tiny little lens, is more heavy than my 24 to 70 lens I have on my camera right now. So this lens is full metal body. If you can hear that. Full metal body. Now it comes with this metal cap. Now it comes off very easy. It's not the most snug fit, you can see, but it stays there. And then you have the cover for the back of it, and pretty good. Now keep in mind that this lens is under $300, and compared to other lenses, this is very cheap. So for this lens, the build quality is actually pretty good. Now, I mean, even though it's built like a tank, doesn't mean it's indestructible. Now, although it is made out of metal, there is no weather sealing in it. There's no weather sealing in it. And there's potential for water damage, water to get inside, especially with the focus. The lens goes in and out rather than inside the lens like in some other lenses. But I mean, for build quality, I would be pretty confident if this fell on the ground and didn't get damaged. So build quality, it's actually really good. For the next part of this review, we're going to talk about image quality. Now, this is a vintage style lens, so it's not the sharpest you can get, but for the price that it is, it's actually decently sharp. The image quality of this lens is actually very unique. So remember, this is called 7artisans, so this lens is actually pretty artistic in a way. So if you're looking for something that has a big depth of field, this is the lens for you. This lens, since it has a 1.4 aperture, it gives you the bokeh that you really want. You can get some pretty cool bokeh out of it. But there is one issue with it, is that sometimes it's hard to get in focus because of that. So I found myself turning up the f-stop to maybe, if I was indoors, to maybe around 2.8 or 2, and that made it a little bit better, because then it would make the focus a little easier. But the issue that I found with it is that since it's really hard to focus, if you're using it on a gimbal, let's say, it can become very difficult. And I mean, talking about gimbals, going on a gimbal is actually pretty easy to balance it. I have the Ronin SC, and super easy to balance it. Wasn't that difficult. This lens is smaller, so it's easier to balance, but it is pretty heavy. So I found my gimbal kind of struggling with this lens for some reason. when I have the bigger lens on it, it didn't really struggle. But back to image quality. The issue that I found when using this lens on the gimbal is that since it is a manual lens, it is kind of hard to focus when you're on the gimbal. Just because, like, if you look at it, this is like, compared to my hand, this is super small. And you put it on the Sony a7 III or basically any Sony camera, it tends to be too close to the gimbal arms. So like you're fighting against the gimbal to get some good focus out of it. But I mean, once you get the focus down, it's actually pretty cool. So how this lens looks like is actually, I guess, unique in the sense that it has a more of a focus zone towards the middle. I mean, you can adjust it and stuff, but usually around the middle it'll be more focused, and then on the edges you'll have like more bokeh, and it'll look out of focus, and it actually looks pretty nice that way. But in a practical sense, if you're trying to shoot somebody, you're gonna be struggling with the focus. So, but it does look really nice. The image quality is nice on there. So for the next part of this review, I'm just gonna talk about my overall experience with it. So this being a budget lens, remember, a budget lens under $300 is decently priced. I mean, for what it is, for what it does, it's kind of hard to beat. So you have a 1.4 aperture, so you're gonna get some really nice low light out of this. And the low light lenses that go up to 1.8 or even a 2.8, they're pretty pricey, especially for Sony cameras. Looking at the G Master lenses, the Sigma lenses, they're all pretty pricey. But I mean, for what you're paying, I was okay with some of the little issues that I had with it. And you have to remember that as a filmmaker, you can't really focus on autofocus all the time, because if you're doing like a real like a short film or even a documentary, you most of the time you're really going to be using manual focus. And if you look at the film industry as a whole, there is actually somebody that has a job as a focus puller. So it's an actual job. So, I mean, I would say just get used to learning how to do manual focus with the lens, and you'll get better at it. But I mean, overall, this is a pretty great lens. I would definitely recommend this lens. It takes a little bit of getting used to. You get some unique and artistic style cinematography with this lens. And if that's something you're looking for, and especially for the low price that it is, I definitely recommend it. And I would definitely try a different 7artisans lens for sure. So overall, this is a great lens. I highly recommend it. I would buy another 7artisans lens, and they also have APS-C lenses for Sony cameras, for the smaller Sony cameras, for crop sensor cameras, and also for full frame. So if you want to look into some low budget lenses, this is definitely the one for you. It has good low light. It's very unique. It gives you a certain style that you don't really get with the more normal lenses, as you say. But yeah, definitely I recommend. So there we have it, the 7artisans full frame 35mm lens. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell and we'll catch you guys on the next one.